I would now like to go ahead with the next part of the afternoon evening, which is the release of the e-book. And this is a book that came out of Morning Scintillating Saturdays. And thank you, Kalpagam, for mentioning the Scintillating Saturdays, because 49 Saturdays till now, the upcoming Saturday will be our 50th. And it's astonishing when I look back at it, I'm like, you mean people have put up with me 49 weeks and listen to me every week? But whether people are listening or not, of course, you need people on the other side. As a performer, you need the Rasika. And Ammaji and I stopped dancing when Swamiji left the body because he was such a Rasika. Having him in the audience, you wanted to dance. And when physically he wasn't there, the question comes, for whom are you dancing? So I was talking to Amma yesterday about it, because whenever I sing, after every song, she'll say, that was the best. That was wonderful. I just loved it. And you know, I was just telling her, you are just such an amazing Rasika. And that is very important. But at the same time, we do it for ourselves so that we can grow. And one of the Saturdays, what happened was that the topic of yoga and cultural misappropriation came up. Now this topic came up thanks to a question that Muggs had asked me, Becky had asked me, and Terry had asked me. And they said, this is a topic coming up a lot in the West. And there's so much of confusion about what is this appropriation, misappropriation, and can you address it? And till then, I had sort of stayed away from what I call yoga politics, because there's a lot of politics in this type of aspect. And so I stayed away. But then I got into it and I thought, okay, I'm done with it. And then we started discussing maybe it could be made into an article and carried in Yoga Life, because every month, Michael, Malini, Jnana Sundari, they are helping me so much in getting Yoga Life ready every month. And I keep on telling them, I'm going to put your name there, and they keep on saying it's our seva. But at least I can say the names here, okay? No escape out of it. So I said, okay, maybe we'll transcribe it. And then I started thinking, who can transcribe it? Because you need someone who understands the framework. You need someone who understands the framework of the concept, not just Ananda's funny accent, but you need someone who understands the framework. And Malini, who's down there, down under, has been doing a lot of work. She's been doing amazing work down there in trying to bring out how does yoga and the modern environment and the modern human beings, how do they come together and how do they impact each other? And I have followed her work over time, and I have, you know, been seeing her perspective. I have seen how she addresses different topics, and over the pandemic time especially have had more interaction. And I said, this is the person who can transcribe it and bring out the spirit of it. So she started transcribing it, and she brought into the written word, not just the exact talk, but started creating a framework of a structure to it. What is cultural misappropriation as opposed to culturally appropriate yoga? And started to tabulate it, started to put it in a context. Things that I just put in a flow started to come into a certain form. And she started to put it into that form. And then we said, well, you know, things are in the form, but things being in a form is not enough, because people are now going to read a 20-page book if it's just words. How do you capture people's attention? Well, there's nothing better than imagery. And so then we sent it over to Padma. So she had the text, she had the video, and for some reason, Padma, you had not able to see you there. And so Padma created these amazing images. Those of you who have seen, over the last year, the output during our psychic neurology, the imagery that came together where each of the lessons became one page. And then you had the yantra brought out, you had the satsanga brought out, and capturing these concepts in an iconic image that would then be like a bija, like a seed, to let the concept flower in our consciousness. And so as this went on, there was a point where Malini was putting together these concepts and putting them into the framework, and Padma was creating images, and suddenly I said, why not an e-book? Why not make it into a book that people could have and use as a roadmap? Now, the first thing I'm sure that all three of us would admit is we are not the complete experts and we are not perfect. So definitely this is a work in progress, and we hope that others will also come on to this. Take this up and develop it further from new perspectives so that we start to end up with a roadmap for those who wish to practice culturally appropriate yoga. We want to give people an opportunity. What is the way to go forward with it without getting caught up, in you versus me, which is the normal thing that is happening these days. It's all about you versus me, us versus them. How can we all come together? So it gives me great, 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 great pleasure. It's an honor to work with Malini and Padma on this project. And I take great pleasure in officially releasing this book. And this book is coming out on the time of the International Day of Yoga. And this is the big version, the A4 size version. And Amma had a look at it. And then I said, this is a bit unwieldy. So I created an A5 size version also of a printout so that, you have a handy book, you can put in your coat if you want. And so you can print it out as A4 or A5, depending on what size you want. And what we wanted to do, it's not just to add one more book to Dr. Ananda's never-ending list. That's not the purpose. As someone was reading my biodata yesterday, instead of 250 papers, they said 25 papers. And I'm like, what does it matter? 25 or 250? It's already done and dusted. I am not my papers. I am what I am in the present moment. And we are constantly evolving. But the idea is that it should benefit others who want to walk that path. So I'm just going to share the screen and give you a very quick sneak preview of what it looks like. Can you see my screen? Yes? So you have, okay, you have the cover page, and immediately we have this beautiful image of Ammaji and Swamaji, to whom we have dedicated this. And the very first sutra, stand up for yoga. That's how the sutra would be read. The very first one is stand up for yoga. And on, we give links, the videos and the articles. And then coming into the transcription, we kept the font a bit big so that even people who have eyesight issues can read it without having to squint too much. You have to be people friendly. And so you have the transcription. And then this is a big contribution of Malini, who's put into a framework, the terminology that we are using. We would like these terms to become common parlance. Cultural appreciation, culturally appropriate yoga, dharma, culturally misappropriated yoga, denial, and misrepresentation. We would like to give a context where these terms can come alive. And a very beautiful wheel, which is the wheel of Yoga Dharma. And then, of course, all the beautiful images where the writing on yoga, which is connected to the cosmos in this case. And you can see that in this cultural appropriatedness, all are connected at the center by yoga. And that beautiful heart, red heart that is beating for yoga. The heart beats for yoga and all parts are nourished by the yoga at the center. And how the study of the yoga, the teaching of the teachers, again the teaching yoga from the heart and with awakened consciousness, sacred speech, sacred objects, the positionality, yoga advocacy, and all of this under Yoga Dharma. Love the culture, love yoga, live yoga. And then contrast with Yoga Adharma, you can see a color change happening immediately. And there's a breakage in the heart there at the center. And this, everything is disjointed, and this is what is happening when it goes into misappropriation, denial, and misuse. And the writing on yoga, this is the best one. The me with the hefty, cash stacks, which is what people do it for these days. The studying the yoga, how you teach yoga, what happens to sacred objects, what happens to sacred speech and positionality. Number one, see that glove with the number one there. Yoga advocacy, all coming into the Yoga Adharma with the broken heart at the center. But reminding ourselves, we are finding today two extremes. One is the totally sanitized ayoga yoga. And then on the other side, where the culture and the symbologies are being used as showpieces without reverence for them. So how to find that balance? That is what we have tried to give through this. And a beautiful team that is acknowledged on the back in this. So I just wanted to share a sneak preview for you so that you get an idea what's in there. And we have had it go through feedback rounds with Sangeeta and with Michael and Jnana Sundari, because these are people whose opinion I value, whose perspective I value, and we want to make sure we can take things as we should. So at this time, I would like to invite Michael. He doesn't know I'm going to invite him. Invite you to just say a few words, because I deeply respect your perspective and where you come from. So request you to say a few words at this time. I'm having some issue with the audio. Just no, I think it's gone into mute somehow. No, 1 second. Maybe what I will do is make you a co-host, because then you can unmute whatever you want to do. Somehow. Yes. Now.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yes, please.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody from Ireland here. Yes, a wonderful piece of work. I just couldn't believe when Dr. Ananda ji sent it over, how it was possible to distill, the scintillating Saturday discourse in, how, first of all, to transcribe it, and then to extrapolate from all of that the salient points, the points that had to be made, and then to translate it into this, as I said, like I used the expression earlier, visual sutras, I mean, into this format. I couldn't, I still just, I don't know how you did it, let's put it that way. It certainly is a work of inspiration. and so beautiful as well, and a timely contribution on International Yoga Day to to the to saying the things that have to be said, and speaking out. I'll give you an example for, from this part of the world. I listened to a radio program where where a yoga teacher was being interviewed about yoga, and it was a religious affairs program from the Christian background, and the teacher was almost apologetically saying, "Oh, don't worry, we only teach yoga poses in the class. It has nothing to do with Hinduism. We're not trying to convert anybody to Hinduism." And I thought to myself, well, what would be the harm in that? You know what I mean? It's as if there is something here to be really afraid of. It's the primordial religion. How why is nobody speaking out and saying, but wait a minute, we're not talking about Nazism or something like that, something that you have to fear. So I really, when this whole subject came up, I thought, yes, it is. It has to, these things have to be said, and there is as you say, the appropriation. And then there's the misappropriation, and the subtleties of the differences between the two was something I hadn't really grasped or encountered either, I have to say. And so that was a very good perspective, because forewarned is forearmed. So that was a very important thing as well. And I said to myself too, I'm sitting here with the mala on, but even when I looked at the section on, as there's a section where it's spoken about to wear a Rudraska beads, you have to really know the culture. You can't just put them on as a cosmetic ornament to be effective in a yoga class. So all of these, if you dig down, you see there's so many things here that have to be said. So it was a privilege to just contribute a little, just to having a share in reading it, and there wasn't really much that I had to do. It was all done. It was just a fait accompli. So so congratulations to the team for a very, very valuable asset to the modern day yoga culture, unquestionably, and it ensures that this stream, the Parampara stream of the Sanatana Dharma, or Sanatana Dharma, I sometimes put the stress in the wrong place, coming from this part of the world, that it's not polluted and that it's kept enriched from the source. And that's the beauty, again, on this day of the lineage, that I'm feel very privileged now to have been invited to be part of, because it's very clear to me that it comes from a pure source. And again, on Divya's birthday today, I can see again that source is in good hands. There's been a lot of heavy lifting, and a lot of people have proceeded in that lineage who have given so much, and it's a big responsibility to wear on young shoulders. So I wish Divya and everybody the best, and thanks again, Dr. Ananda, too, for all your wonderful teaching on this day. So Hari Om.
Thank you so much, Michael, for those very kind words and beautiful perspective on where we are in all of this. I would like to request Malini to say a few words. And she is usually a bit camera shy, but I make sure that everybody loses camera shyness in this yoga family. So you're most welcome. You can unmute and yes, perfect.
Thank you. I want to thank you. You're my family. You're my...
We're having some issue with your mic. Maybe just unmute it and unmute it, and maybe it should be fine. I'm wondering whether it's at my end, because a few people have had audio issues.
Can you hear me?
Somehow still I'm not able to hear. Maybe can others hear? No, okay. You need to check your mic again. I don't know what's happening there. Maybe the wire's loose.
Is it better now?
Okay, yeah, you have to come closer. That's it. You have to come.
Try.
Yes, yes, yes. Now I can hear.
Thank you. And I want to express my pranams, my heartfelt Ishwara Pranidhana. And I feel this is in the hands of Swami Gitananda and Amaji and the will of Lord Shiva. And I have nothing more to give, just my whole self and heart. That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Malini, for being such an important vehicle of this manifesting. And it's so important that this is put out there so people can actually start to say, yes, it exists. I think it's important that we realize it exists. That's where the journey starts. And yes, Padma, over to you now. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much. And again, I'll just kind of say what I said the other day. I think all the heavy lifting was done by you and Malini, and it's just a matter of you're so visual that it's easy to put it together. So Malini did the most amazing job, as Michael has already said, of silting through all that information and making it so palatable that we can all take it and get from what we need and share it forward in all our respective cultures and countries. So yeah, it was a blessing to be part of this team as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Padma. And I think the pandemic has really awakened all of us to that amazing talent you have to bring these teachings into the visual form, because I've known you so many years and never knew that. So I think this is one of those positive spin-offs of the pandemic. And thank you for the amazing artistry that it's just astonishing what it can do. So I think, you know, I think this is something that goes deeper. It is said that images go much deeper than words because our very primitive part of the brain processes images better than words. And so, you know, it's really one of the most primitive parts can easily get the message. And that is why, you know, when they put up a sign in any place, you know, if you just say stop, nobody reads it. But if you have somebody there with a hand up or, you know, a stick up or something, people will stop because, you know, you see it. You need to sort of get that visual input. And I think it's a very important aspect to get the teachings across. Speaking of this, I think I should request Ingan to say a few words, because she is someone who really knows what this is all about. And from the angle of understanding human beings and understanding where we are. And I value your opinion a lot, Ingan. Namaste.
Thank you for inviting me to speak. As I have stated before, I have been doing yoga for a long time, many years, off and on. But I have been longing lately to go much deeper into yoga, and that's why I'm so happy that I found this tradition where I really feel very inspired and included. Regarding the book, of course, I have not read it yet, but I listened to your scintillating Saturday about the topic, and I really look forward to go into this topic because it's so important. Yoga is so popular now in the West, and you see all these versions of yoga at health centers, and people who they know the asanas, but they hardly know about pranayama, and they know nothing about yoga philosophy. So you have all these watered out versions of yoga being very popular. And it's good that many people are exposed to something that they think is yoga, because for some people, it becomes the beginning of finding something different and deeper. So it's good as a starting point, but as many who are dedicated and serious about yoga, we find that this is not really yoga. Then you have the other side that of people who are resisting yoga. And I was exposed to that. I come from a small island in Western Norway, and Western Norway has been traditionally been very religious, very Christian. And I was in the US when this debate started, but my brother said, now this rather fanatic Christian is starting a debate. The background was that there was some interest in yoga in this island, and someone wanted to organize a yoga festival. And then this man who started the debate, there was also a lot of other people involved. He was writing in the local newspaper that we cannot accept a yoga festival on this island because yoga is all about the indoctrination of Hinduism. And some naive people are even wanting to give this practice to our children and young people. And in the context of naming these naive people, he mentioned also my name because I've been writing about yoga, writing scientifically, but also because there are not so many people doing that. I've been interviewed in various media, so my name was known to him and he mentioned me as an example. And now that's why my brother said, you're mentioned here in this context, you have to enter into this debate. So I did enter into the debate. And but it was a difficult debate because people were not at all very rational. It was you know, he had his very extreme point of view, and whatever you said, you could not come across. And so I think because of these extreme positions, someone who is really against yoga without knowing what it is, and then yoga becoming so popular also among people who don't really know what it is, it's important to say that if you are interested in yoga, there are some middle grounds here. So, and on the other side, it's also that yoga, by becoming so popular, becomes a source of money for a lot of people. And a lot of commercialization of yoga also lead to this watered out yoga that is almost unrecognizable. So I think this book and the beautiful pictures will be very welcome for people who are serious about yoga, and also a lot of people will discover something new. So it's very, I think this is not really gangster yoga. This is being honest about what yoga is and where it comes from. And I think it's very important also, because that was also part of the debate that I entered, that, you know, yoga is Hinduism and yoga is from India, and we don't really need that. But of course we have to, yes, yoga comes from India, and that is interesting and important to say. And it will only enrich us culturally to find out the context where yoga developed, because then we understand what yoga is. And it doesn't harm anyone to know more about other people's culture and religion. That will only make us more wise. So I'm very happy about this book. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, Ingan. That is a very, very important perspective you have given. And definitely we can become wiser by understanding the other side and the other cultures. And as you said, on one extreme, you have people opposing it who don't know anything about it. And then people practicing it who have no idea what it is. And, you know, we have just such a spectrum to deal with that we need that middle path. And yoga is all about the middle path. Yoga is all about mitahara, yuktahara. Yoga has never been about fanaticism. And I think this is a big message. Moderation is what yoga is about. Moderation in everything of the human being. So thank you for pointing that out. And I just wish to thank everyone who has been part of making this book come together and, enabling it to come alive and have a birthday today, to share a birthday with Divya and share a birthday with International Day of Yoga, the summer solstice. Well, a lot of things coming together.